Hi everyone, this is my first YouTube video and I am still working out how this whole recording thing works, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to talk about evolution and some of the objections to it. Now, the first main objection is improbability. You know, anything that happens, this mutation being beneficial or this or that, or evolution in general is too improbable statistically. Well, that isn't really true because most of the statistics used and these probabilities worked out work on variables that aren't really part of evolution. So evolution is also not entirely random. The actual genes and mutations and changes in the genes are random. I mean, if you look at someone's kids, for example, they didn't get to choose which of their genes they passed to their kids. So you can see there's a random element there. But the actual natural selection element is not random. The genes that give you the best results, say we had an eagle. If you have two eagles, one that has better eyesight than the other, then the one with the better eyesight is more likely to find prey. So that eagle has a better survival chance just because it's better at what it does. So it is more likely to reproduce because it is more likely to survive. Now, a lot of creationists at this point will say, well, yes, you can have variation within a species. We know that. And so they like to distinguish between macroevolution and microevolution. But really, what is the difference between the two? You say that genes can vary. So what stops the genes from continuing to vary and continuing to be different from the original organism? How far can you go in that before, according to your microevolution only model, it has to return to the norm? Because if it doesn't, then it keeps going in one direction. What mechanism stops it going in one direction? According to evolution, there is no mechanism to stop it from going in one direction. And that is why things continue to change to the point where a species becomes so different from other members of the species that it can't reproduce with those other members, and so they become separate species. We can see this in something like ring species, like salamanders, or there's some species of gull that also show this, where over their entire range where they occur naturally, there's several populations, and the populations can interbreed, but at the extremes of their range, those extremes can't interbreed with each other. If you bring them together, they are incapable of producing offspring. Now to this, someone might say, well, there's only so many genes available in the population, so it can only change so much. Well, that's where mutations come in. Now, some creationists say there are no mutations, they're impossible, but this isn't true because we can observe them. We have seen them happen. We have watched populations, we have looked at their genomes, and we have seen changes to the genome that were not there in the ancestral population. Now, you can't say this is a plastic response because the genes weren't there. Okay, so the next thing said is that you can't have a beneficial mutation. Well, most mutations won't do anything at all. Most of them will be so minor that they won't actually make any change to gene expression. So they won't make any difference to the animal at all. If you had a simultaneous major change of large areas of genes, then yes, that would be detrimental and would probably kill the animal. But that's not what happens. What happens is you accumulate these small mutations that don't do much or anything. And then a mutation in one might trigger something that means you need 3 or 4 of these useless genes together to actually form something. Or sometimes it's even just 2. So once you have all of them, that's when the change occurs, not before. So people say, well, that can't happen. But we've observed this in examples such as E. coli. There's an experiment with E. coli which involves 12 identical populations, or at least they were originally identical. And they are put into a new flask every day. Now, this experiment has been going for over 20 years. So these populations have had 20 years to accumulate various mutations. Now, if mutations don't occur, or they can't be beneficial, then you would expect that in all 12 populations, they will still be identical after 20 years. Well, they're not. They've all accumulated different mutations, and they are different mutations from each other. There is one population that has 3 genes that have changed, not at the same time, mind you. This is subsequent populations have mutated different genes, and the genes allow them to feed on citrate, which E. coli cannot naturally do. So you can see by this example that mutations do occur and they can be beneficial, and they can also do absolutely nothing. So to say that mutations can't occur or that mutations can't be beneficial is demonstrably wrong. Well, I didn't really write a script for this, so I'm mostly working off the top of my head. So that's all I have to say for now, and I hope that I've given you something to think about. I will probably be posting up some more videos soon on evolution and various things related to evolution. So that's it for now. See you later.